Starting things off with Bolton versus Cambridge. Now Bolton put on a very professional display here as they ran out 2-0 convincing winners. Now this was massive for them as they've had a couple of poor defeats in their last two matches. Obviously losing to Wigan would have really stung for them, and I was interested to see how they respond to that, but it shows that they have got a bit of character about them and a massive result here. Cambridge on the other hand, they look like they're going to be struggling. They may even get dragged back into that relegation battle. They need to get a new manager in very fast and get the right one in, because Neil Harris's departure would have come as a shock to the club, but it's how they bounce back. And with other teams around them winning at the minute, especially the likes of Cheltenham, Fleetwood getting a massive result today, Reading obviously getting 3 points, they need to start winning some matches and fast. Over to Brunton Park now, where Carlisle lose yet again. Obviously the stats were very even in terms of possession and shots, but shots on target, Reading absolutely outclassed Carlisle, and that did show in the scoreline at the end of the game. Obviously Reading getting that 3-1 win would be huge for them, and after last time out and there's a shock defeat versus Shrewsbury, like I say, it gets them further away from the relegation zone, which is absolutely massive for them. As for Carlisle, they're going down and they'll finish bottom of the league. I've got no doubts about that. They've shown enough this season to show they're not at the quality or, like I say, at the level of League One. Next up, we have got Cheltenham, and they hosted Burton to this afternoon. Now, I think on balance, a draw was a fair result. While Cheltenham had more of the ball, Burton definitely had the better quality of chances and the more chances. But Cheltenham will be slightly disappointed coming into this game in decent level of form compared to the rest of the teams around them. They'd have hoped to get at least 3 points here. I mean, like I say, they could have got their goal difference up as well. As for Burton, they'll definitely take the point. It's a tough away game for them, and it keeps them away from that relegation zone. I think Cheltenham are going to be fine this year. I think they've definitely got enough quality to stay up. It's just about getting points on the board now for them and getting it as quick as possible. So Burton will take the point. Next up at Pride Park, Derby got a very much deserved win against Port Vale. Obviously, Port Vale, they'll be disappointed in this one. They come into this game in decent spirits after their 2-2 draw with Fleetwood. Obviously, if they'd have won that game, which they looked like they were going to do for a large portion of it, things could have gone a different way today. But having that second half living short in the memory, Derby fully capitalised on their poor mindset and went and completely dominated against them. I think Port Vale are going to struggle for the rest of the season. They're already down there and they're looking like they're going to go down. If they'd have won on Tuesday night, I'd have backed them to stay up, but it's not looking good for the Valiants. On to Fleetwood versus Wigan. Now, this was a massive win for the Cods, who came into this game in dire need of some points, and what a way to do it. Honestly, 4-2 against a really, really tough Wigan side, and they deserved all 3 points despite not having as much of the ball. Wigan were very wasteful in possession, didn't do a lot with the ball, so Fleetwood were just very clinical, and this will be huge for them as they, Charlie Adam, he's a decent manager, he's shown that in his short time at Fleetwood. If he can keep them up, it would be absolutely huge for the club, and if performances stay like this, they definitely could. Over to Brisbane Road now, where despite Bristol Rovers getting a red card, they managed to win the game 1-0. As for Leyton Orient, they'll be disappointed. They were definitely the better side on the day. But if you don't take your chances, you don't win football matches. And that was the case today. Bristol Rovers had their chance and they took it. And they sat on that. They won the game. They'll be very pleased with that. Leyton Orient, they need to start getting some wins again if they want to look to get into that playoff place, which looked like a no-brainer a couple of weeks ago. But a couple of poor results, and they're slowly falling away from that playoff race. Again, if they bounce back next week, it will all be forgotten, and we'll be looking at them being in the playoff picture again. Over to Lincoln versus Stevenage. Now, this was always going to be a tough game for Steve Evans' side, but I think they did all right with it. Maybe you could argue they were quite fortunate that Lincoln didn't take their chances, but again, I think a draw was a fair result. Bit of a boring one from the neutrals' perspective, but both sides will take the point. I think both sides would have taken the point going into the game. And Stevenage, they're keeping up themselves in that playoff place. And Lincoln, to be fair, they're closing in on it now. And a couple of good performances in the next couple of weeks could see them go into the playoff places for the last couple of games. And in my opinion, that's the best team to be. The team that comes into form and sneaks into that last playoff place going into the end of the season as you come into that playoff with all the confidence in the world. Now over to Sixfields, where Northampton will be the happier of the two sides. Charlton, they didn't really show much in all honesty. They had more shots on target. They just didn't have the better quality of chances or more of the ball. Now they'll be very disappointed with this after having 3 really impressive performances against the top 3 sides in the league over the last 3 matches. They'd have come into this game expecting to get all 3 points, no doubt about that. As for Northampton, they're a decent side. They've shown that over this season. I think they'll definitely take the point though. Obviously they have more of the ball. They're at home. I sort of expected that. But they had the better quality of chances, but I think a draw was a fair result. Like I say, Northampton will be the happier of the two. On to Peterborough versus Exeter. Now, this was a crucial win for Peterborough, as all the sides around them did also win. So to stay with them, they needed to get 3 points, and they did just that. Obviously, getting back-to-back wins after that poor run they had been on is absolutely crucial for them. But I think it's no less than they deserve. They were obviously the better side. A very professional performance against a top-quality Peterborough side. and it leaves them still in that automatic promotion fight. As for Exeter, a disappointing result, but there's a lot to take out from it. They were in the game for a large portion of that game, and they would have counted themselves lucky if they got a point, but they can move on to the next game. On to my boys Portsmouth. Now, despite not having what I would say is our strongest team out, we definitely did get all 3 points, and we might not have deserved it. I think Oxford did at least deserve a point, but you don't take the chances, you don't win matches. Obviously, their XG is massively boosted by that penalty early on, but I don't know. We weren't particularly good today, but is that a sign of champions? Who knows? A team that can win even though they're not playing at their best, and that was certainly the case today. Obviously, Christian Sadie coming off the bench definitely changed the game. At one end, he's scoring goals, and at the other end, he is saving balls off the line. So a lot of Oxford fans are saying it was very one-sided, and they definitely were in control of the game. I wouldn't say that. I think it was a very even game, and either side could have nicked it. Obviously, we did, but I think the fair result was a draw. Over to Crowd Meadow now, where I think Shrewsbury will be disappointed with themselves, especially as teams around them have won today, like Reading. To go and lose in the manner they did lose will be confidence knocking for them. Blackpool, I said they struggled with teams, at that end of the table, but they didn't struggle today. They absolutely outclassed Shrewsbury and deservedly got all 3 points, and it puts them even closer to that playoff spot, with teams in the playoffs dropping points today, like Oxford and Stevenage. Now, can they take that confidence into next week against us? I certainly hope not, but who knows, this is football. Obviously, they smashed us earlier on in the season, so could do the same. Shrewsbury, they'll be very disappointed with this one. They're going to have to brush themselves down and go again next week if they want to stay out of the relegation zone. And on to our final game at Adams Park. Wycombe were very disappointed with this one. It was a very even game, I'd say, up until that red card. It was still Barnsley were winning the game, but once Wycombe got that red card, there was no coming back, and obviously Barnsley compiled on the misery with a goal shortly after. I think that Barnsley definitely are coming up in. They're going to be the dark horses for the automatic promotion spot, as they've had a late surge in these last couple of matches that could see them end up finishing second or first. Obviously, if they are in the playoffs, I'd still back them as the team that would be the favourites to win it all. But who knows, really? It's football at the end of the day. Whatever happens in the next couple of matches will be vital for their season, though. As for Wycombe, a disappointing day out, but they've got to brush themselves down for next time.